Most parents think they're being smart when they add their child's name to their property deed. They believe it's a simple way to avoid probate, save on taxes, or just make things easier when they're gone. But here's the harsh reality that real estate attorneys see every single day. This well-intentioned decision can absolutely destroy your family's financial future. We can tell you that some of the most devastating financial disasters we've witnessed started with parents who thought they were doing the right thing by adding their kids to the deed. These aren't complicated legal loopholes or obscure tax codes we're talking about. These are real families who lost everything because of one simple mistake. Now, before you think this doesn't apply to you because your family gets along perfectly, or because your child would never do anything to hurt you, let me stop you right there. The families I'm about to tell you about thought the exact same thing. They trusted completely. And that trust ended up costing them their homes, their life savings, and in some cases their relationships with their children forever. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 devastating consequences that happen when you add your child to your deed. And trust me, by the end of this, you'll understand why every estate planning attorney cringes when they hear about parents doing this. We're going to cover real-life examples, the legal nightmares that follow, and most importantly, what you should be doing instead to protect your family's future. But first, let me share something that might shock you. According to recent studies, over 60% of parents have considered adding their children to their property deeds, and nearly 30% have actually done it. That means millions of families across the country are sitting on a financial time bomb, and most of them have no idea. The problem isn't just that this strategy backfires. The problem is that when it goes wrong, it goes catastrophically wrong. We're talking about losing your home while you're still living in it, facing massive tax bills you never saw coming, and watching your children fight in court over property that was supposed to bring your family together. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real life. Picture Sarah, a 72-year-old widow who added her son Michael to her deed 3 years ago. She thought she was being responsible, making sure her house would pass to him without any legal complications. Michael seemed like the perfect choice. He was financially stable, married with 2 kids, and had always been the responsible one in the family. But here's what Sarah didn't anticipate. A few years after she added Michael to the deed, he was named in a lawsuit related to a failed business partnership. Even though the dispute had nothing to do with Sarah or her property, the court issued a judgment against Michael personally. And because his name was on the deed, the judgment creditor placed a lien on the home. Sarah, who had lived in that house for 45 years and raised 3 children there, suddenly found herself unable to refinance, sell, or even borrow against her own home, all because of a legal issue she had nothing to do with. This isn't some rare, once-in-a-lifetime scenario. This is happening to families every single week across the country. And Sarah's situation is actually one of the milder examples we've seen. Some families face even worse consequences that most people never even think about when they're making this decision. The thing that makes this so dangerous is that it feels safe when you're doing it. Your child promises they'll never do anything to hurt you. The paperwork seems straightforward. You might even save a few $1,000s in probate costs. But what you don't realize is that you're trading a small, manageable expense for massive, unpredictable risks that could wipe out everything you've worked for. The first major consequence that catches families completely off guard is what lawyers call joint liability exposure. When you add your child's name to your deed, you're not just giving them ownership rights. You're also making them legally responsible for anything that happens on that property. And more importantly, you're making yourself liable for their financial decisions. Remember Michael from Sarah's story? The moment his name went on that deed, his creditors could legally pursue the house for his business debts. But it gets worse. If your child gets divorced, their spouse can claim a portion of your property in the settlement. If they get sued for any reason, your home becomes an asset that can be seized to satisfy their debts. Image another scenario with Patricia, whose daughter was a doctor. Patricia added her to the deed thinking it would be simple and safe. 2 years later, the daughter was involved in a malpractice lawsuit that went beyond her insurance coverage. The plaintiff's attorneys immediately put a lien on Patricia's house, even though Patricia had nothing to do with the medical incident. Patricia spent 18 months and over $30,000 in legal fees just to protect her own home. Here's what's really terrifying about this scenario. Your child doesn't even have to make bad decisions for this to happen. They could be the most responsible person in the world. But accidents happen, lawsuits occur, and when they do, your property becomes collateral damage. The second consequence is even more insidious because it hits you where you least expect it, your taxes. Most parents think adding their child to the deed will save money on taxes. They couldn't be more wrong. In fact, you're setting your child up for a massive tax bill that could cost them tens of thousands of dollars more than if you had done nothing at all. Here's how this works. When you add your child to your deed, you're essentially giving them a gift of half your property's value. If your house is worth $400,000, you've just made a $200,000 gift. The IRS considers this a taxable event, and if it exceeds the annual gift tax exclusion, you'll need to file gift tax returns and potentially pay gift taxes immediately. But that's just the beginning. The real disaster happens when you pass away. Normally, when a child inherits property, they get what's called a stepped-up basis, which means they inherit it at its current market value for tax purposes. But when they're already on the deed as a co-owner, they lose that benefit for their portion of the property. Let me give you a concrete example. Say you bought your house 30 years ago for $50,000, and it's now worth $500,000. If your child inherits it normally, they can sell it for $500,000 and pay zero capital gains tax because of the stepped-up basis. But if you added them to the deed and they sell after you pass, they'll pay capital gains tax on $225,000 of profit. At current rates, that's over $60,000 in unnecessary taxes. Look, we get it. You want to take care of your family. You want to make things easier for your kids when you're gone. That's exactly what every parent we've worked with wanted to do. But after 15 years of watching families get destroyed by this one simple mistake, I'm telling you there are much better ways to protect your loved ones. The truth is, proper estate planning isn't about taking shortcuts. It's about understanding the risks and making informed decisions that actually protect your family instead of putting them in danger. A well-structured trust, a properly written will, or even just keeping your property in your name until you pass can save your family from financial disaster while still achieving everything you wanted in the first place. Before you make any decisions about your property, talk to a qualified estate planning attorney. Yes, it might cost you a few $100s up front, but that's nothing compared to the hundreds of thousands you could lose by making this mistake. Your family's financial security is worth more than a quick fix that could backfire spectacularly. Don't let good intentions pave the road to financial ruin. Your children will thank you for taking the time to do this right, and you'll sleep better knowing you've actually protected everything you've worked so hard to build. Trust me, the peace of mind is worth every penny.